Hi friends, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Courtney with Cake by Courtney, and today we are making a confetti bundt cake. A confetti cake, isn't that so nostalgic? Don't you think of childhood? It's one of my favorite cakes as a layered cake, but also let's make it so simple. You can do it in a sheet cake, like a 9 by 13, or today we're gonna make it in a bundt cake. So you'll find this recipe linked below. When you go to that recipe, you're gonna have the bundt cake option, but I'll also give you the link in that blog post. You'll also find the layered version in my very first cookbook, which is Cake by Courtney. So in preparation for making any kind of cake, especially a light and fluffy cake, there's a couple things you need to remember, and it's not too hard, I promise. You'll remember it and always do this, is we wanna start with room temperature ingredients. So I have buttermilk that came from the fridge. I have a little bit of sour cream. I have my eggs and my butter. Those have been sitting out on the counter for a couple hours. We want those to be room temperature. So not melted, but can you see how I can get my fingerprint in the butter there? That's what we are looking for. Room temperature ingredients will better mix together and they're better absorbed by the dry ingredients. What does that mean for you? It means your cakes are gonna rise really nicely with a light and fluffy texture. So that's what we're going for, room temperature ingredients. My oven is set at 325. It's preheated, it's ready to go. So now we can start making our cake batter. And we're gonna start with our unsalted butter. Again, room temperature. And today I'm using my Ankersham mixer. So you'll see this one's a little bit different. Sometimes I pull out my KitchenAid with the paddle attachment. You can use either one, or maybe you've got a Bosch. Totally great. Just make sure you note as we are doing this, the mixing speeds and how long, because that's gonna affect your cake. So we're gonna start with our butter and our granulated sugar. All right, and with that, we also have a little bit of oil. Gonna get a good texture out of that cake, some good moisture there. We're gonna start by mixing these three ingredients just on their own here. And we actually wanna turn the mixer up quite a bit. So we're at like a medium-high speed. The goal right now is that we are getting a light and fluffy texture with the butter, the sugar, the oil, and then we're gonna add our eggs and some egg whites. And again, we want it to be smooth and fluffy. So a higher speed right now, totally okay. Doesn't that look amazing? Like a fluffy cloud? That is our goal, okay? So good right now. Light in color, light in texture. Always scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl. Okay, we're already one step closer to the most delicious cake of your life. The room temperature ingredients, mixing on that higher speed. And next we're gonna take some eggs and we're gonna do some full eggs. Again, these are room temperature. All right, and then I'm gonna add some egg whites as well in just a minute here. So those yolks provide fat in our cake, which we love because fat creates and retains moisture. And then those egg whites, just having a couple of those is gonna help just provide a really light and fluffy texture as well, so it doesn't get too dense. Look at our egg whites, there we go. Okay, let me wash off my hands. Whew, beautiful. And we're gonna mix this again on a medium-high speed. Get those eggs incorporated really nicely. And while that's mixing, I wanna add some vanilla extract. Now, there's a couple options here. I love clear vanilla extract for a confetti cake or a yellow cake. It's a little sweeter than your pure vanilla extract. The other option is I love this butter vanilla by Loran. Just one of my favorites. It gives you a good little extra buttery flavor and the vanilla is so good. An emulsion is water-based. The flavor holds on a little bit longer and doesn't get baked out quite as quickly as an extract does. So just another option, but either one will work in this cake. And we're gonna do a full tablespoon of that flavoring here. All right, let me turn this back up. I'm gonna show you the texture in a minute because you are gonna wanna see what I mean. We don't want it to look like it's curdled. That means the butter and the eggs have been too cold. We want this to be smooth and fluffy. It's gonna almost look like it's your buttercream. That's how amazing it's gonna look in just a minute. All right, let's just turn that down low a little bit. Let's scrape down the sides and the bottom of our bowl. Oh yeah, we are getting there. I'm gonna mix it just a little bit longer because you can kind of see how it looks a little bit curdled here. Good coloring, we're lighter in color, we love that, but we want that to just come together a little bit better. So let's just turn that mixer back on a high speed and get that really smooth. That's just gonna help your cake to rise evenly and fluffy and just have a really good texture to it. All right, okay. That's looking so good. Over here, let's switch over to dry ingredients for just a minute. We wanna combine our cake flour with our baking powder and our salt before we move on to the next steps. So cake flour, real quick, this is good to know for future recipes that we're gonna do together. Cake flour has a lower protein content in it than it does in an all-purpose flour. Why do we care about that? It's gonna create a lighter, fluffier texture. So when a recipe calls for cake flour, I'd say use cake flour. If a recipe calls for all-purpose flour, use all-purpose flour. Now, if you need to make your own cake flour, because sometimes it can be hard to find, what you're gonna do is take 1 cup for every cup of your all-purpose flour, take out 2 tablespoons and add 2 tablespoons cornstarch and sift it a bunch of times, remeasure to get your 1 cup. I'll put that in links below so you can learn how to make your own cake flour, but just know that's what we're using today. So I'm adding my baking powder there and my salt, and let's whisk those together. This helps get out any clumps in the flour, but also helps to distribute those ingredients evenly. And now what I'm gonna do is I will alternate my dry ingredients, the flour mixture, with my wet ingredients. So in here I've got buttermilk, and I'm actually gonna add some sour cream. This just adds a little extra fat, which adds that moisture. So let's just mix those up. We'll just put them together here. And now we're gonna alternate these 2 things with the mixer on a low speed. Now we're at the point where we don't wanna overmix our batter because it overworks the gluten, which means you're gonna have a really dense cake that doesn't rise very well. So lowest setting on your mixer, whatever mixer you're using, and we're gonna take about 1/3 of the flour mixture, mix that in for a moment, and then I'll do about half of my buttermilk mixture. It has a little of that sour cream in there. If you don't have sour cream, by the way, just use the same amount in buttermilk and add a little more buttermilk, okay? All right, little bit more flour. How much do you love this bowl, by the way? It's a silicone one. I love using it to pour things in. Okay, then we've got the rest of our buttermilk. Low speed. We don't want to go too high. I'm watching that buttermilk kind of fill in, get incorporated. Now let's just add the rest of our flour mixture. And now we're just gonna wait until we don't have streaks of flour in the batter anymore. Let that mix for just about 30 to 60 seconds. Okay, so good. So we're gonna stop the mixer now. And what I like to do is just kind of do a little mix by hand with the spatula, and we're gonna fold in our sprinkles, our jimmies, all right? Our rainbow jimmies to get that true confetti look. So let's just get all this batter off. Save a little bit to taste test, obviously. Yeah. Oh, can you see? Oh guys, I'm gonna spare you watching me lick this whole thing and save it. But the batter alone is just worthy of completely licking clean. Yep, so good. Watch how I'm just going to fold this batter a little bit to push out any big air pockets. And let's just make sure we have all the ingredients incorporated, meaning any butter that's like stuck at the bottom of the bowl. Let's get that mixed in. But we're just being gentle at this point. Okay, so good, beautiful. Now we've got our rainbow jimmies. Let's just add those. And we're just gonna gently fold those in. How happy does this cake batter make you? Oh, those rainbow sprinkles just do something for the level of joy I feel right now. Okay, so perfect. The next thing we've got to do is we've got to prep our Bundt pan. This is the Nordic Ware Anniversary Pan. It's a 12-cup pan. It is a great Bundt pan for all Bundt cakes. It's gonna fit so much batter in there for a full recipe of the cake. The shape is beautiful. It's a great metal, but we have to make sure to prep it. So one of the things I like to do is I will spray it with nonstick spray, and then you can dust it with flour, or if you have a chocolate cake, cocoa powder, or today what we're gonna do is we're gonna dust it with sugar granules. That's my favorite. Then you get like a little bit of texture and crispiness almost with the bite and sweetness on the edge of it, but also I feel like the sugar does the best job making sure that the cake comes out of the Bundt pan really cleanly. So let's prep this. I've just got some nonstick spray. There's so many brands that work. This one's the white cap. And I wanna make sure I go around the center and then the bottom and the edges, get in the grooves here. Okay, all right, so that's covered. Now let's take some of our sugar, and I'm just gonna use my regular granulated sugar. We might need a little bit more than that, and we're gonna toss that around to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies in your Bundt pan to make sure that cake comes out. If you have some of the coarse sugar, that turbinado sugar, that one's also great because that is gonna coat the sides and give you a great little texture on the edge. I'm gonna need some more sugar here. Okay. And we're gonna get really messy. Let's go over to the sink real quick. There we go. The worst is if you're making the Bundt cake, you don't prep the pan the right way or enough, and your cake does not come out, and we're so sad. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. All right, that feels good. All right, shake out the excess. Look at her, right? Let's get this batter in. Now we're ready to go. And we are just gonna scoop our batter in evenly. This is gonna be so yummy on its own. Like, you don't even need a buttercream on this, but you could absolutely add a little chocolate buttercream at the end, vanilla buttercream. Okay, enough for me to lick off the spatula. And now we're ready to bake it. I'm gonna put this in for about 50 minutes. Might need a little bit longer, but we're looking for the cake to not jiggle anymore when you touch it. If you were to put a toothpick in the center of the cake, you want it to come out with a few moist crumbs. That is a great indicator that it's done. You can also check by temperature and using a thermometer, and just like a meat thermometer, and you would just put that in the center, and we're looking for about 2 to 210 Fahrenheit for it to be done. That will kind of depend on the cake, but again, you're looking for those moist crumbs to come out as you pull that toothpick out or the thermometer. Then you know it's gonna be done. Remember, it bakes for about 5 more minutes as it's cooling because of the residual heat on the pan. All right, let's get it in the oven. Always the middle rack. There we go, beautiful. Once your confetti cake has baked and cooled completely in your Bundt pan, then you're ready to flip it out. I'm just gonna take my cake stand, put it right on top like this, and we're gonna flip it over. This is always, no matter how many times I do it, I still get nervous, you guys. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Then you hear it drop. Beautiful, okay. And you have your confetti cake. How cute is she? Right? So could totally just be eaten on its own, or you can add some buttercream on top. It's great with chocolate, it's great with vanilla, strawberry, but we're so excited and happy about that cake, right? So cute. Okay, can't wait to dig in. Just check below for the link to the recipe on cakebycourtney.com. It's there for you. See you guys next time.